but being on the client side, you definitely see the value of a great agency. They are an extension of your team. I think us working together, obviously we have years of a relationship, but we trust you guys completely to really be part of the overall brand team, to have and help with some of that thinking, to tell us if like, hey, you have a great idea, here's the best way that we think we can execute it, here's what we're seeing in market. It's just always fighting for attention, I think, on the agency side from your clients. And again, making sure the clients understand everything that you bring to the table. You might be stuck as the shopper marketing agency, but that doesn't mean you don't have a great idea that can live across different disciplines and different touch points. And now, everything really being completely 360. There's that line in the sand of they're the agency and the client, but one whole holistic picture of we're all on the same team. We all want to see our brands grow.
Thank you for joining us for some commerce education and marketing entertainment. I'm Mike Batiste, joined by my co-host James Dean, no relation to the actor or the breakfast sausage. Our guest today is Edwin Hincapie, brand director for Santa Teresa Rum. Edwin, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me, Mike. Pleasure to be here.
Edwin, we're jumping in fast. Let's get to know you through some questions. So some of my favorite things about you, I've known you for a long time, discovered today that we have over 250 mutual connections on LinkedIn, which is amazing because I don't think I even know that many people, yet we both somehow do. You lived the majority of your life in New York. You now live in Florida. To me, this is interesting, right? There's always this like New York, Florida connection, the weather, where we go when we retire, Florida in the news for crazy stuff. But we're here talking about commerce today. So what are the biggest differences in shopping, retail experience, just commerce in general from when you were here in the metropolitan area in New York versus where you're at in Florida?
Sure. I mean, I think one, you take a step back, is just the lifestyle and the attitude of New York versus Florida. Specifically, I'm in Weston, so it's kind of I like to say it's the Westchester or Long Island of Miami, probably about the same distance. So I'm in the burbs, so it sounds sexy to say Miami, but it's nowhere near Miami. So different experience than most people in Miami might have, but definitely one of the things is just the lifestyle and the pace. I think when you're in New York, you're just in a rush, right? You want to get things done. You got to go. You got to get home. You got to get to work. You got to get things done at home. So even shopping is just kind of a stressful experience. You want to walk around and look, but you're in a rush. People are watching you, and if you take too long, people speed you up. Here, I mean, listen, Publix is king. I live by those Publix BOGOs. And it's just such a calming experience of walking around stores, getting to see discovery. People actually want to help you. It's super nice. But it's interesting, right? There's a lot more, I think, of competition to stand out in New York. The stores are probably a little bit more cluttered. There's a lot of more promotions, a lot more brands screaming for your attention. While here, it's the same thing. Displays are bigger, a lot more floor space. And probably you do a lot more comparative shopping here as well. I would say, like I said, like for me specifically, Publix, you're looking for those BOGOs. You're looking to see if the brands you want are on sale, or if not. Where in New York, it was in and out, right?
Yeah.
In New York, it was get me in and out.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, dude, at this point, I don't even go in. They bring it out to me. We get it delivered. Like you said, man, time is always of the essence. There's sort of like this always this push and pull when I think of you, these like unique perspectives in that you've been on both sides there geographically, but for this next one professionally, you've led marketing agencies. You've now led brands. What has that unique perspective taught you in your career?
I'm still trying to figure out which one is the dark side. So I remember making the switch from the agency side to the client side. I was being told, you were going to the dark side. And then as soon as I got to the client side, I was told like, oh, how does it feel leaving the dark side? So still trying to figure out which is which. Obviously, we've known each other for a lot of years. I think the perspective changes a bit from the client agency relationship and what the goals and the objectives are. I think the biggest thing when you look at leading one or the other, and it's something we always aimed for on the client side, and we always talked about it. A lot of it was, I would say, was trying to position ourselves in the best place for the clients, and making sure we were helping them and answering their needs. And we always pitched, we want to be an extension of your team. We want to be with you. Don't just don't make us executors. Think about us as a support system. When I first came, or when I was on the agent side, it was like, yeah, yeah, that's part of the pitch, right? But being on the client side, you definitely see the value of a great agency. They are an extension of your team. I think us working together, obviously, we have years of a relationship, but we trust you guys completely to really be part of the overall brand team, to have and help with some of that thinking, to tell us if, like, hey, you have a great idea. Here's the best way that we think we can execute it. Here's what we're seeing in market. So I think the relationship side from one and the other is really like, how can you both benefit one each other, right? From the client side, you need all the support you can get. You have a great idea, but if it doesn't get executed, it doesn't go anywhere. And a lot of times, it's not just about the final creative or the final program. It's also, and you guys obviously hear me say those times, how do I help me sell this internally
Yeah.
to get the funding, to get the program approved, and so on. So you do have to look a little bit further of not just like that line in the sand of they're the agency and the client, but one whole holistic picture of we're all on the same team and we all want to see our brands grow. From the agency side, it's just always fighting for attention, I think, on the agency side from your clients. And again, making sure the clients understand everything that you bring to the table. You might be stuck as the shopper marketing agency, but that doesn't mean you don't have a great idea that can live across different disciplines and different touch points. And now, everything really being completely 360. There's less silos when we were working together in the agency world, where it was, this is the shopper, this is the experiential, this is the
Yeah.
above the line, this is the below the line. Now it's all one big idea, and it comes across every touch point.
All right, a little different now. You personally, you're hitting social media, doing whatever on your phone. What kind of ads are you being served? Who's targeting Edwin right now?
Oh man. So I like to think I'm still in the know, and I'm still, hanging out with the rums and everything, but definitely being served more of that suburban dad and soccer dad lifestyle. A lot more cars now, more SUVs and sports cars though.
Okay.
Much bigger rooms. I think for the line of work, I do get served a lot of spirits ads, which is great to see what's out there. But also moving on, you see the trajectory, I think, of your life stage in the ads that you're served. So a lot less of those, what Jimmy's probably being served, high energy, party, ready to drink cocktails, now into more of the bourbon, aged rum, super premium rum, whiskey lifestyle. So definitely the system sees me getting older and more mature, hopefully more mature.
Yeah, I feel like I'm getting such polar. Like it's all or nothing.
Yeah.
Like I watched one YouTube video on a golf swing, and I've just been getting everything is golf, 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 every little tchotchke, and then that'll pivot to some barbecue thing because I looked up a recipe. It's nonstop. What are you getting right now, Jimmy?
On my ads, yeah, I mean, I
Yeah.
although I wish I was getting more like party type stuff, it is not that anymore. It is all about having a 2 year old and an expecting like second baby coming. So it's all of those accessories. There's a couple cool little dad hacks out there, but that's kind of the side I'm on.
Yeah,
Nice.
it's funny. I'm getting a lot of the, like you said, barbecue as well, and then a lot more. I think it's because I live in Florida. A lot of vacation, quote, staycation. You know, visit the Gulf Coast, Fort Lauderdale, etc. And it's like, discount for Florida residents. And it's just like, wow, they do know where I am and who I am.
All right, last one for me. I got one more. As an expert, like in multicultural marketing, specifically Hispanic marketing, I've been dying to ask you or someone with your credentials this question. So, 10 years ago, so 2014, 2015 ish, there was a forecast within multicultural marketing, the broad span of multicultural marketing, that it was going to become like less and less impactful and important because of digital and digital targeting. A lot of what we're talking about now was going to make the kind of cultural relevance of the human being obsolete. So here we are 10 years later. And the question is to you, are we just sort of generic data sets? Does culture still play into how we market to people and get them to engage?
Yeah, I think the difference is, to your point, right? It's more about culture and psychographic and less about like demographic, right? I think 10, 15 years ago, we were talking, oh, is it English or is it Spanish? Is it Mexican American, or is it Mexican, or is it South American, or is it Puerto Rican, etc.? And now it's just one. I think, especially Hispanic marketing, multicultural marketing, African American marketing as well, Asian marketing as well. You're talking about second, third, fourth generations that just grew up with it as part of their culture. Language is probably less and less, but that wanting to hold on and wanting to learn about their culture is more important, right? But also, culture and multicultural becomes part of the mainstream, right? You look at Miami, and it's like you don't have to be Hispanic to understand and feel a connection to the Hispanic market. It's in the vibrancy of the city, right? And you always talk about like the culture, the food, some of the language, etc. It lives around you, and it's all about, I think, the cities that you're in and how you're living your life. It's not necessarily so demographic, like this is for you because of that. If I go to LA, whether I'm Mexican or not, the Mexican culture is part of who I am, right? And then you have all these other groups that are coming in as well, whether it's Guatemalan, Salvadorian, Venezuelan, speaking about Santa Teresa and its growth, the Venezuelan population continuing to increase and continuing to influence music and food and culture in certain cities. So to your point, I think we're seeing, and look, man, it's a wave, right? I've been in multicultural marketing since about 2000. And I remember when it was all about Spanish language ads, and we had to be in Spanish radio, Spanish TV, Spanish festivals. Then it became like, hit 2010, 2014. It was, oh, it's English, it's not Spanish. Does language matter, etc.? I think now you're seeing it kind of died down for a while, and it went the whole thing of like total market and less segmentation, which not necessarily there, but I think it's how do you bring culture to the forefront, and it's less about like this is for you, multicultural audience, versus how do you influence everybody because of the world you live in, right? And you're seeing it more and more. I always use three generations of myself as an experience, right? My parents are first generation Colombian. Like they barely speak English, even though they lived here for like 40, 50 years, right? They hold on to their culture. They watch TV in Spanish. They live their life in Spanish. I was born and raised in New York. So yes, I held on to my roots, but Spanish was almost like my second language. Some people even laugh and say like, you don't even speak it correctly. You speak more English, but you grew up in a New York that was so diverse that even though I was Colombian, Puerto Rican, Dominican, Asian, African American was all around me, every day of my life. So I feel comfortable in that world. I can connect in that world. But you see language kind of falling a little bit and falling more behind. But I do grab onto my roots. And then now I look at my kids who barely speak Spanish, really like are full Americans, right? Because now you have two generations of separation, but they want arepas, chorizos, bandeja paisas. They want the food, they want the culture, they want to learn about Colombia and like where grandma and grandma comes from. But to them, it's almost like this is something that makes me unique and special, but it's not necessarily, I live in this world all around it, but I don't have to be in Spanish to do so. So I think you're going to continue to see that evolution. The biggest part to me is, especially you look at like sports, entertainment, right, is the influence that multicultural has. When you talk about artists like you can't even go anywhere without saying Bad Bunny, J Balvin, like they're mainstream artists now, right?
Yeah.
So it's just become part of the mainstream. To me, it's more about that psychographic and knowing where you are and what pops, regardless of your background. Again, depending what city you're in, the culture is going to be part of the city, and less about the demographic.
We actually want to ask you about Santa Teresa. First, am I pronouncing that correctly? And then tell us a little bit more about the brand, the history, but also the liquid itself as well.
Sure. So it's you pronounce it correct. Santa Teresa, 1796 is our flagship. The company is called Santa Teresa. Our flagship liquid is Santa Teresa 1796. It's a great liquid. It's a Venezuelan Solera aged rum. It's triple aged. We're a blend of rums from 4 to 35-year old. It is the oldest rum producing house in South America. The brand is over 227 years old. So when you think about that, it's older than actually Venezuela is as a country. There's a lot of history there tied into the history of Venezuela. There's a lot of heritage, a lot of craftsmanship. Everything that we talk about really filters and lives on two sides, right? We talk about, and this has been our campaign, but also kind of how we live our day-to-day. It's great rum and greater purpose. The great rum part is easy for us to talk about. We have a great liquid. Like we said, we're Solera aged rum, triple aged. We're single estate, which to me is incredible. So we're not bringing in any products from outside, which means if you ever get the chance to visit the hacienda in Venezuela, I invite you to do so. You get there and you can get out of your car at the sugarcane field and walk the entire hacienda, from sugarcane field to rum in a bottle being shipped all over the world.
That's very cool.
Nothing is
Awesome.
being brought in from the outside. No rums being brought from another house. No sugar being brought in from anything else. No products, no flavoring, nothing. Everything is single estate from the Hacienda Santa Teresa. The other thing is, you hear about rum. People talk about it's too sweet. It reminds me of vacation. I love a Miami Vice, a pina colada, but this only has 3 grams of sugar per bottle. In some cases, the sugar doesn't even pop up on the radar when we do the readings. So it's an extra dry
Wow.
rum. It's great for bourbon drinkers or whiskey drinkers. So again, that sugar content compared to some of the other rums out there is super low. When you're talking other rums have 15, 20, 30 grams of sugar per bottle, per
Yikes.
750 bottle, we
Yeah.
only have 3. And then the last part is like we are the most awarded super premium rum in the world. So we have over 60 gold medals. We just got awarded Rum of the Year at the prestigious Berlin Spirits Competition with a 95 rating. We just got
Oh,
gold medals in the New York, Denver, LA, and Chicago Spirits Competition as well. So when we talk about great rum, we talk about great pride in that it's not us having to say it. The industry is saying it. The accolades come, and we have the liquid to back it up. It's truly an amazing liquid. But that's the rum part, right? That's the brand part. That's the marketing. I just gave you the marketing spiel, right? What makes this brand truly unique is its purpose. So we talk great rum, greater purpose. This is a brand that really has changed the trajectory of Venezuela, works to improve the country, works to improve society and humanity as a whole. Our flagship program is Project Alcatraz. So what I'll tell you guys about is it's almost like a movie. Can't wait for the Netflix movie to come out. But think about 2003 in Venezuela and everything that was going on, all the political upheaval. Venezuela was a dangerous country. The per capita murder rate was higher than Iraq during the Iraq War. Where Santa Teresa was in the Aragua
wow.
Valley by El Consejo was one of the most dangerous parts in terms of gang violence. And one night, a gang broke into the hacienda, beat up and tied up the security guards, robbed them. So our founder, Alberto Vollmer, basically, or our chairman and CEO, Alberto Vollmer, basically said, we need to find these guys. Somebody needs to be held accountable. Otherwise, we'll continue being victims. So our head of security went out and he found one of the guys, called Alberto, what do you want me to do? Let's hand him over to police. They need to know there's things. They handed it over to the police. And then he noticed the police was taking him up a mountain away. And our head of security was an ex-policeman. So he knew he wasn't going to the police department. They were taking him in the mountains. And this was an individual that was wanted and one of the most wanted gang leaders in this area. So he calls Alberto and says, I think they're going to murder him. Like, they're not taking him. What do I do? Red light, green light. So Alberto says, red light, red light, red light. Not on my watch. There's no. So put it to the point where they actually had to buy back the prisoner from the police. So they buy him back. They bring him back to the hacienda. They bring him into Alberto. They have a conversation. He goes, well, you have 2 options. You can go back to the police and we see where that's going, or you can work off your debt. I will let you stay at the hacienda. We won't pay you, but you'll get room and board and you work off your debt. You have all weekend. Go for it. If you don't show up, we'll turn you back over to the police. Obviously, he takes the better deal, seeing what the police was going to do. Comes back, agrees to work it off. After about a week, he asks if his friends can come in, join like in this program as well. Which is truly amazing. In our heads, we're thinking like, great, we've got the other ones. The other ones are going to come in. We got the other 2. 14 other gang members show up looking for a way to get away from the violence, looking a way to get away from that life and truly work and see everything that there's going on there. So all of a sudden the light bulbs goes off and we have something here. Like, what are we doing? There's an opportunity to really help people and change people's lives. So that's where we call Project Alcatraz was born, which is a social reinsertion program. We work with ex-gang members, prisoners. We go into the jails. We use rugby as a way to teach values, but we bring them into the hacienda. We have training across the board, mental health support, physical support, training for work, for employment. Many of them actually work the line. So we can say you can go the entire production line in Santa Teresa, and there's a Project Alcatraz graduate touching the brand along the way. Many of them have become global brand ambassadors for us, learning mixology, learning how to make cocktails, working at some of the top bars. We are now obviously celebrating over 20 years of Project Alcatraz. We've worked with over 11 gangs. We're in about we were in 36 prisons in Venezuela. We just opened the first prison also in Spain, and we're looking to expand into other markets. So all of this
Wow.
is just about being able to change lives and to be honest, I've been there and I've seen it firsthand, and you see the change, their perspective, how they go for some of them wrongfully incarcerated, others looking for a way of like, when you hear their stories, I mean, it's incredible to where they are. Rugby is a big part of it. We talk about Wilkinson, who is we call him kind of the original life shaker. His dad is actually the guy that broke into the hacienda. And his dad is now a rugby coach for Project Alcatraz. He has 17 coaches under him. He
Wow.
leads the program. Wilkinson is the captain of the national rugby team. They just came back from Spain from a national tournament, and you just see how these guys' life has changed. But for me, one of the most touching things is being at the hacienda, and I saw, there's probably close to 2,000 kids that participate, learning rugby from small ages. So one of the sayings that these guys have, the Project Alcatraz guys, is if the kids see you in the street being gang members, they're going to want to do that. But if they see you coming to Santa Teresa, participating in rugby tournaments, winning championships, training, and being athletes, they're going to want to be that. One of the most heartwarming things I remember was talking to one of the Project Alcatraz guys, and he was saying his goal was that none of those kids actually have to go through Project Alcatraz. That Project Alcatraz at some point goes into the jails and continues, but none of those kids will actually have to go through the program.
Yeah.
So it's a touching thing, right? And it's really what makes this brand unique is giving back to society, making a better world, changing stereotypes of Venezuela as a country. I mean, we always hear about it as like, don't go there. It's a scary place. I've been there 4 or 5 times already. I can tell you there was a lot of worry the first time. But it's such a beautiful country. The people are warm. They open their arms. I mean, they're there to welcome you, just to show you that it's not everything that we see here in the U.S. But to us, again, it's great rum, but the purpose is the biggest part. And compared to other brands that do purpose marketing to sell more product, we honestly sell rum so we can do this, so we can do more purpose and touch more lives and change more lives. It doesn't hurt that we have a great liquid, but the story and the purpose is what makes us unique.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
It's remarkable. It's like I love any brand that's giving back
awesome.
in any sort of a way because we need it. It's needed.
And we're trying to bring the program to the U.S. as well. So we're talking to a couple of detention centers and jails here, showing the case studies, working with local governments to show like, hey, we have a program that's been successful in one country, and we have the interests of other countries as well. We would love to bring it to the U.S.
But I want to ask you a couple more questions. What's coming up for Santa Teresa? Marketing mix. What's modern? What's new? What are you guys, focusing on that's not too secretive, not too private?
Sure. So last year, towards the end of last year, we launched our first big campaign. And remember, we're a small brand, so big is figurative, but great rum, greater purpose, where we invite America to really talk about rum, the premiumization of rum. We believe now is the time to really dig in deep and lean into the premiumization of rum, especially when you look at what's happened in other categories. So we invite America to come in and learn about Santa Teresa, learn about the great rum, but also the greater purpose. We can continue seeing that campaign out there. We want to continue to drive the visibility and invite more people into our brand, right? And our brand doesn't just mean our liquid and the liquid to lips. Obviously, we want you to taste the brand. We want you to enjoy it. I believe you taste the liquid, you fall in love, but really understand what the brand stands for and hear that story of how we're transforming lives and working with the community. From an exciting perspective, last year we launched our first innovation, which was Santa Teresa 1796 Space Side Cast Finish. So this was the original 1796 Solera aged rum, triple aged rum, then aged a step further for 13 months in ex Space Side whiskey barrels. It was a little bit higher proof, 46% versus 40%, but still smooth, still delicious. It did extremely well. We had a limited run of just under 3,000 cases and pretty much sold out throughout the country. So what's exciting is we have our next innovation planned for launch in July. I won't get into what it is yet, but we think it'll continue to push the brand forward. It'll stay true. While this was a Space Side cast finish, the next one will stay true to single estate. So the cast finishing is going to be truly unique, and it'll be from other materials that are grown at the hacienda. So even the finishing will take place there at the hacienda. We're not sending anything out or bringing anything in. And then we have a complete innovation pipeline that's coming out, just continuing to grow the brand. The brand's been growing healthy for the past 3 years. We want to say we've grown probably close to 50% in the last 3 years. just continuing to invite more people in to experience the brand, to learn about Santa Teresa, to learn about Venezuela. So
That's really great, man. Congratulations.
yeah.
Edwin, thank you for sharing your unique perspective and point of view with us today. Thank you for creating better commerce experiences. Thank you for participating in a purpose more so than a sale, and treating people like whatever they clicked on last or searched on last. It's good for everyone. It's good for humanity. It's good for the industry. Good luck, man. I wish you guys nothing but the best with what you're doing with Santa Teresa. Thank you.